I know you're listening. You're here because something isn't right. Something feels twisted, upside down. Things don't add up. Hello, human. Welcome to our twisted universe. Hello, human! Welcome back for part 2. In this segment, we will continue discussing the strange happenings with the Schumann Resonance with Marguerite from Schumann Updates with Marguerite and Bob from Exit the Matrix. Be sure to check them out on Facebook.
Crystals all over my property.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so all of this, even though I'm at 1,000 feet, this was all underwater at one time because there's river rock all over the place. There's quartz. There is rock that has a little tiny crystals on it. I don't have any of them right here.
I'm coming to your house.
Yeah. Hey.
Good trip.
Awesome.
Seriously. This is a quartz, rose quartz off my property.
Oh, love that.
Looks like it's been tumbled in a river.
It has at 1,000 feet, Joe.
Yeah.
How about that? So then there's these other rocks that are covered with tiny crystals, and those are all over the place. Well, anyway, I get a lot of traffic here because of the portal. And a lot of things come through here. I have a lot of angelic activity here. I mean, loads of angelic activity here and other activity. A lot of things.
I wanted to just say, I tell people this a lot. When you come up against a really evil, dark creature, I always say, don't let it know, you know it's there. And I don't know, like, it sounds like it's an old wives' tale or something, but I learned firsthand, because the minute you acknowledge it's there and you lock eyes with it, you're in a fight now. It's like, so had you locked eyes with it and it knew that you knew, it's on. And people need to realize that.
Yeah.
Be prepared to fight if you're going to acknowledge it.
Right. Well, I didn't know because I didn't believe in extraterrestrials. I didn't really believe in them. I mean, I was sort of like, well, maybe, but I'd never had an encounter. I never had an experience with anything that fit in that category that I knew of. It was not something I was prepared to deal with.
Yeah.
So my first experience and my direction was to do just what you said, because I would not known how to deal with it. And I was told it was on a reconnaissance mission. And one thing I even tell people and myself when I'm dealing with devils and demonic stuff, which is a lot of categories, very boring. Don't respond to their attacks. Do not let them see you sweat. Don't sweat. Don't let them make you afraid, because they feed on that. We all know that. They love loosh. They love our fear and anxiety. So because I've been taught by the Lord that specific thing, I sent y'all, I think, a copy of it. I call it the Vanishing Proclamation. It just covers just about every legal thing, and it binds it up and sends it away. Can't even fight. I've gained a great deal of confidence since then. So I get scared if it sounds like somebody is breaking in my house, a human being, because I don't have authority over them. But when it comes to a devil, it's like, really? I know exactly what to do. And I'm very serious. It's not unusual to have to remove multiple evil spirits daily. Because if you do this kind of work, or if you spend a lot of time in prayer, and meditation, they know about you.
Yeah.
And you'll be visited.
Mhm.
Very possibly. Most people don't realize they're being visited, and they get all kinds of stuff crusted on them. I think cleaning house daily is a good idea. But anyway, why did I bring all that up? I was talking about the extraterrestrial thing, the gray thing, and how you can't see it. Okay, and we were talking about planets that evidently are in the sky. And what is it? Is it infrared or ultraviolet? It's a frequency of light that we can't see with our eyes. They're out there, evidently. We just can't see it without assistance. And they've outlawed the goggles and stuff that was used by the military that could see it. I bet y'all talked about that. And so
yeah, somebody also, what was it called? They were able to do like light fractal bending or something, and he was able to create photographs of interdimensional beings.
yes. Yeah.
Mirrors, and I know I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank.
It's some sort of ion, blah, 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 blah type of glass.
Mhm.
And a certain color that they or dye they've outlawed or something like that. But anyway, there's a observatory out west, Mount Graham, it's called. Have y'all heard about that?
Mm-mm.
There's a guy who's a investigative reporter named Tom Horn, who used to be, I think, a Baptist preacher. And he and a guy named Chris Putnam had heard about this observatory, which is a big one on Mount Graham, which is holy ground for the Native Americans. And somehow the Vatican and Russia and a bunch of different powers on the earth got involved in this, and they built it, and they put a filter that they use on their huge, massive telescope that is infrared. And it allows them to see all of it out there. This is the Vatican, the Catholic Church,
Shocking.
the
Yeah.
the cream of the crop.
Shock you, Bob.
Well, you know
What?
they've got a telescope called Lucifer.
That's right. This is the same one.
Is it? Okay, I have heard of that then.
Lucifer, which of course is light, but it's also, we know.
Light bringer.
Yeah.
Some people, do you know the story about the infrared goggles that you're talking about? I don't know if all our viewers will know this. I mean, we definitely know. I think, Bob, you probably know about it too.
I've heard of it. I remember the guy that did the photography with it.
Yes.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Men were involved in that, but I don't think they really covered it in that movie. But yeah, talk about it, please, because I don't know that much about it.
Well, all I heard was the story that the military were given these new high-powered goggles to see at night, which used infrared. And like you were talking about, all of a sudden they could see into a different dimension, and they could see the multidimensional beings, and they were freaking out, hysterical, because there's freaking demons and goblins or whatever all around them. And they had no idea they were there, but then they put the goggles on, they could see them.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
kind of like when you do ayahuasca or DMT then, huh? That's what it sounds like. But
Yeah.
people that say that, like Joe Rogan, a lot of those guys that talk about that, Graham Hancock, that's what they explain when you do ayahuasca. It's like it lowers the veil, you can see through the veil. And he said that, there's like these, you'll see like tall, like alien looking creatures or demons, and like they call them like the machine elves. They're like little like goblin or little children little beings.
Mm.
And they say it's like you're just in, it's like they're all around us all the time, but the human body, our senses aren't able to perceive
'Cause we're
perceive
not
them,
looking for 'em. The
Yeah.
blue ball.
You have to uninstall the limiter.
Yeah.
Some people can see. You guys can see.
Well, I
Occasionally.
want it most of the time, you know, only if I'm supposed to. But yeah. I heard that fighters and people who were pilots with the military were wearing those goggles, and they were seeing things and monsters up there in the air with them, and they were shooting at them. And the ones not wearing the goggles had no idea. It was like the guys were losing it. They were terrified. They saw monsters. They saw all this crazy stuff, and they were shooting at things that no one else could see. And finally, some of the leadership put the goggles on. They found out what was going on, and they quit using them.
Is that where the Foo Fighters came from? Was from the goggles? Because you always hear about World War II, you know, the pilots would talk about these phantom, like, you know, like ships or balls of light that would follow them around, and they called them the Foo Fighters.
Maybe. It's fascinating, isn't it? Well, how did I get onto all of that? We were talking about
The behind the earth, we're getting hit.
Yeah.
Human on the other side.
We're being hit with energy, and a lot of people believe what's coming from behind the earth is indeed from Nibiru, or Planet X, or some of the brown dwarf planets and suns or stars that travel in orbit with Planet X. Evidently, there are several of them that are held by the gravitational pull of Planet X, which a lot of people believe Planet X is the same thing as wormwood, which is talked about in the Bible. Wormwood is described as a flaming meteor type thing in the Bible that comes out of the sky into the ocean, and the oceans turn bitter and the fish die, etc. And there's all kinds of cataclysm that occurs. So it's the precession of the equinox, evidently the elliptical orbit that Planet X, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, and all its accompanying buddies is complete every 26,500 or 700 years. Is that what it is? Something like that. And we're coming up on it. And they believe that that's what's behind Earth, putting out energy as well as pulling on the Earth because there's a gravitational pull. They're coming close enough. They think that's why the sun is shooting out these powerful solar flares that are hitting what looks like planets, spheres right there with the sun. And I actually have been photographing and posting them on my Schumann Resonance page. And I did one today. That's kind of fun. We're living in really different days, and we all know that. But it's like
back to the 90s. We'll just do the grunge thing in Portland. Go to rock bands.
it would be a break, wouldn't it? Just to
worry about.
Get away from the craziness for a little while.
Yeah.
Just
Hey,
for
Marguerite, you've also heard, right, that that the poles have been moving, the North Pole. It's been
yeah.
moving quite a bit. Like every gosh, I was listening the other day, somewhere like every 3 to 6 months, you know, they have to keep readjusting the measurements, you know, for flight and everything because it's moving so quickly.
Yes.
So something's pulling on the gravitational field of the Earth for sure.
Is it true that it has reached the 40-degree mark where they think it's going to cause all this, maybe a...
No, not quite that far yet. But I mean, at some point, you know, at some point it's got to shift. You know, it basically be like the the poles shift over and flip over, which is kind of interesting when you think of Revelations, where it talks about how the sky, becomes like black, like sackcloth, and it goes dark for so many days. I mean, imagine if the Earth is flips its axis, and then
Yeah.
I mean, they say it's happened before. That I know, like Graham Hancock and some of the other guys that they've been trying to piece together, what caused the flood, and even more ancient like catastrophes on the Earth. And that's one of the theories, is that there was a pole shift where it reversed. And if you think about it, how there's the talk about Antarctica, and how there's this whole conspiracy that there's like ancient like pyramids and buildings under the ice and all that. Well, think about it. If the poles have shifted at some point in the past, land masses would have changed places where they're at, on the Earth, and in the way they'd be facing the sun and all that. So at one time, the continent of Antarctica could have been, a subtropical, continent, so
We found
it's
evidence
interesting.
of Antarctica. There's fossil record there that shows that there were dinosaurs in Antarctica at one time, and tropical jungles.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like we're so much on spin cycle? Crazy. Can we talk about the Schumann last weekend?
Okay, absolutely. I want to show you a picture though, if you don't mind. I have a bunch of them I'd like to show you, but this is one. That in the center is the sun. There's like a white circle inside that black. That is an occluder, they call it.
Right.
That so you can actually see the photographs taken from the satellite. And that's showing the plasma spewing out from the sun. But look at that white thing. That huge white thing streaking by the sun.
What is
There's
that?
lots of those happening. Lots. There's a lot going on. And I've actually done some reels showing all this crazy stuff that's happening, showing all the amazing anomalies around the sun. I want to show you this one. These are multiple ones. Oh, what is the plasma from the sun hitting there?
Wow.
Yeah. We've got planets very close by, apparently. And it's evidently Nibiru, Planet X, and the cohorts. Why are all the earthquakes and everything on a massive uptick? Because there's pressure and gravitational pull on our sun, as well as beginning to hit us, evidently, from behind. We live in very exciting times, to say the least. Have you got a picture of the Schumann Resonance from Sunday and Christy, have you got that? If you don't, I have some. But yours would be a lot better the way you could post it.
I can definitely add it in the video for our viewers. All
right, well, let me pull out one of mine for now, and you all can put up a good one later.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the Russian
Yep.
Schumann Resonance. Can you see it okay? This is more normal.
Yeah,
the Schumann.
Yeah, 4 bands is normal.
That looks like a tapestry.
What
It
is
looks like
it?
some-
Wow, it almost looks like strands of DNA layered.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and there's
Sacred
sacred geometry in there too.
I almost felt bad when I saw it. I just was like, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. That is nuts. I mean, what did you think when you saw it?
I was like,
Nothing.
I did not know what to do when I saw it. I was like, I've never seen anything like that. And I slept late that day, which is not like me. I slept till 10 o'clock in the morning. Granted, I was up till 2, but 10 was really late for me. And I think it was because these energies, I usually handle them well. Sort of like someone who drinks a lot, gets tolerant of alcohol. I don't drink, but I certainly do energies. I normally am not knocked on my backside with them, but I slept late.
When did they start? Did they start on Saturday and then go into Sunday, or Saturday?
Started on Sunday, pretty much.
Sunday.
I think it's so confusing with Russian time and Russian, the Russian Schumann charts are on Tomsk University Russia time, which is UTC time plus 7 hours. So they are like 7, they're a lot of hours. They're like 11 hours ahead of us.
I was going to
So
say.
it's confusing to say because I don't do the numbers to begin with. You military people maybe can figure it okay. It apparently started at about 7 in the morning, I think, or 10. I think it was 10 o'clock Russian time. That's why I'm so confused about it. When I woke up, it was already happening. And it lasted all day and the next day. And there were blackouts in between, and then it would come back. And you can see here, it shows that you can see where there's a black area between, that's the blackout between the old Schumann and this new stuff that started happening that no one has ever seen anything like it before. And people are like, it's a glitch. That's an elaborate glitch. You know what I mean? Really?
Yeah.
Glitch.
And why hasn't it glitched like that before? And all the year.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
tell
And
you,
people
for sure,
got,
I was gonna say, every Sunday we go and we do yoga, and we do a lot of like meditation time during yoga. And during that, I use that for some deep prayer. That's when I really get really into prayer. And I was given a message that it was angelic energies coming in and the angels were coming down for us. That was the message I was given very strongly on Sunday. It was really
Wow.
cool. I felt so much at peace after. I mean, we'd had a rough month, and a lot of things were going on, and I just didn't feel like I could find my peace. And just that, the Schumann was going crazy, and I was getting messages deep in prayer, and everything has shifted for me. I was wondering, did you feel any kind of shifts? Anybody?
Yeah. And many did. And I did not feel stressed or traumatized during it. I certainly did feel it. And before it happened, my cat has joined us. I hope he doesn't decide he needs to be a part of the interview here, but he might. Before it happened, time anomalies happened like crazy for me and many people on my page. Like right before it, I woke up, like about 6 in the morning. And I was up and I was doing stuff. And I did a ton of things. I got all kinds of stuff done. And I sat, meditated, and prayed and hung out. I washed dishes. I did a load of things. And I thought, oh, I'm starting to get tired. It must be about 3 in the afternoon because that's about time. If I'm going to feel like taking a nap, it's probably going to happen. Or I thought maybe something's happening. Some energy's coming in, solar flare or something. And I looked at my phone and I was like, no, that's not right. That can't be right.
Yeah.
It was 11:54 in the morning.
Wow.
I felt so discombobulated, just like you might feel if you took a nap late in the afternoon and woke up in the dark. You thought it was morning. It wasn't. It was just early
Same
evening.
thing
That kind of,
happened to me.
and I was, huh?
The same thing happened to me on Friday. I start work at 6, and I got a lot of stuff done, more than usual actually, given the time weirdness. I got to a point where I'm like, God, it's got to be lunchtime. I'm starving and I'm getting tired. I was kind of coming to the midpoint of the day. I look at the clock and it's 9. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll eat some breakfast then, I guess, instead of lunch. And then went back to working, and then it was 3. Like that. And
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And we are the only ones.
the day. It's very strange.
A lot of. Mhm.
Did you have any interesting experiences, Bob, on Sunday?
I mean, I guess not particularly like what you guys are explaining, talking about. I don't know, I had my dad over and my brothers and stuff, and we swam and hung out, but no, I guess for me it was just a basic day. But I have to admit though, I've been extremely tired the last like few weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually have pretty good energy levels, but I mean, I've been finding myself coming home from work and drinking coffee just to stay awake. I just feel so drained. I mean, it's been
Yes.
hard to do, yeah, like to have motivation after I get off work, and it's not just work or anything. It's just something more than that. It seems pulling on my energy.
I
Yes.
feel energized. Isn't that
You're
weird?
one of the ones being energized.
Let's go.
We flipped.
Everybody,
What was that?
everybody reacts differently. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
when we have whiteout blast on the Russian Schumann, I tend to be very energized. But when we have some of the spikes on the Italian Schumann charts or whatever, I can feel really tired when they're incoming. Or a solar flare, I can feel before it comes. I get tingly, and my head right here feels like I'm being squeezed a little, like a pressure. And I'll know, an hour before it's acknowledged online. I've actually gone on and said, something's coming. I got the squeeze thing. And other people will say, yeah, we are too. So, Christy, a Merkaba shape
Mhm.
was very recognizable. It's kind of in the center here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Like a star.
Mhm.
Okay. There are all kinds of sacred geometry shapes in this thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even know, what a Merkaba or Merkaba, depending on how you say it, what it is. But there are so many things in here. Let me show you something for the fun of it. This was outside my house one morning. That's clouds.
No way.
You ever seen clouds like that?
That looks like a spaceship.
Yeah, that's not clouds.
Exactly. Look at it's like an X shape almost. And then it has like a pyramid shape in it, sort of.
Yeah, you can see the pyramid and the inverted pyramid, almost like the Masonic symbol.
Yeah.
I know that disturbs me, but they had to get it somewhere, right? They must have seen it. Now that was in 2019, right outside my house. There were a load of other things that were up in the sky that day too. And I have pictures of those, but that's not what we're talking about today. So I believe, I looked at it, the Schumann Resonance, as it appeared on Sunday, depending on part of the world you're in, whether it was Saturday or Sunday. my first thought was time warp.
Interesting.
My first thought. It's like you couldn't see the whole thing. It ran off the bottom and ran off the top. But visually, you could see 11 horizontal lines, and you could see part of the 12th. Well, I got to thinking, and others too got to thinking, DNA.
Yep.
As we're told, okay, we're not supposed to just have 2, we're supposed to have 3. And other people say, 12. 12 is the number.
Yeah.
And so we have 12 lines that were on the chart. We have all the sacred geometry, and this has never happened before. And there was a man, we won't mention his name. He's been a real problem for me, very insulting. And he's an electrical engineer who's actually somehow been involved in creating some of the gizmos in Italy and other Schumann radio stations. And he has tried to say nutty things about me and anybody else and said we're totally ignorant, we're liars, we are seeking to deceive, to gain fame or wealth or something, which is a joke. I don't get anything for what I do. He's been saying all kinds of crazy things. He's an old man. And I actually had read some of his articles, which were dealing with the Schumann resonance and dealing with remote viewing connected in with it, all kinds of stuff. I mean, he's not your everyday scientist type. He definitely walks out on the edge, more parascience and stuff for in the past. But I don't know if he feels useless or if he's just angry at the world. I mean, a lot of people are. But he's been saying the meanest stuff he can. And he said that the Russian Schumann Resonance station, the space observing station, was made up of an aluminum beer keg. They used an aluminum beer keg for their receiver now. And he said they actually sent him a picture of it. And there were a bunch of poor kids going to this school, which happens to be Tomsk University. And there's another word, Tomsk State University in Russia. And it's not a little dinky thing. They have over 600 professors of science in this college. It's crazy. Anyway, he said this to discredit the whole thing. He said it was simply a circuit oscillation. And I looked it up and I saw some of the images. I never saw anything like what we have seen. And for him to say they're using a beer keg when Russia is like the gold standard for the Schumann resonance chart. They've been around over 20 years. Monitoring the entire time, it makes no sense. All I can think is it's just opposition, trying to discredit what's happening. Other people I know who say they are in touch with off-world entities, not just an individual, but groups that they haven't told me much. They say this is absolute off-world intervention to help release us from the matrix and prison that we're living in. That time is part of the scenario that holds us locked in, that it's part of our limitation, and that this particular chart, which was a huge anomaly looking thing, is actually a serious intervention on their part to break us out of what we have been in for all these thousands of years, that it's time for the new era to come in. And to do that, we must be released from these bondages of thinking and the frequencies and the limitations. Many people think that the reason the shields of the earth, the bow shock, seems to be failing is because it was created possibly not so much to protect us, but to keep us from seeing and receiving the energies that will activate our DNA. I tend to think there may be something to that. There's reason to believe that before the flood, the biblical flood that's mentioned, which a lot of people believe was connected with what was mentioned earlier. Someone mentioned this, that when Nibiru or Planet X or whatever came through on its halfway orbit in the 26, almost 27,000 precession of the equinox, it came very close. It was across the ellipsis and its orbit, and it affected the sun and the earth and triggered disasters all over the earth, including the worldwide flood. That this is all part of what we're dealing with. And of course, after the flood, and in the Bible, it actually says that the firmament that was around the earth collapsed and lighting changed. According to certain scientists who have studied it, they said that the earth was surrounded with a crystalline shield, and that you could actually hear the morning stars sing in the morning, and you could hear them in the evening. You could hear the frequencies and the song of the spheres, because this crystal shield around the earth acted like a crystal radio. And it also protected us in many ways, but instead of having the kind of lighting we have, we had a pink sort of salmon lighting, like looking through rose-colored glasses. And that, what'd you say?
Oh, I said that would make me happy.
Yeah, really.
Only we
And
can see the world through rose-colored glasses.
Exactly. Maybe there's a history hidden somewhere there.
Maybe so.
And that there were no real extremes in temperature. I mean, there was snow, but it was not extreme freezing cold or extreme hot because of this crystalline shield around the earth. And when the flood occurred, it says the fountains of the deep broke open out of the earth and broke through the windows of heaven. And there was storming and rain on the earth for the very first time, which before that, it actually says in Genesis, the earth was watered by a mist in the morning and a mist in the evening. So rain, thunder, and lightning was chaos, and it changed everything. And all of a sudden, people didn't live 600, 700, 800, 900 years, 969 like Methuselah. All of a sudden, the life expectation was dropped out the bottom. Everything changed. And a lot of people think that the shields of the earth, they think that the word slipping away from me, it's a band that spaceships, ships supposedly cannot get out of our atmosphere through. That these things were made by some being to help imprison us, that it's not natural for us. So all these things seem to be being challenged right now. Things are changing. And there seems to be a rescue mission in process. And the creator, the prime creator, the awesome creator that we are made in the likeness of, is the one who is rescuing us because the lease is up. According to a lot of people's understanding of symbolism in the Bible, like the 6-7 days of the week when Earth was created, it represents the lease. And mankind gave the lease to Satan, to the reptile, to the reptilians, maybe, in the garden. And they gave the lease to the earth, which was Adam and Eve, man and woman, ruled here. named every animal, knew the name, which is they knew the power to them, and cared for them, cared for the earth. And we were like not weak at that time at all, before the lie was spoken to us and we were told that God did not like us. He could not be trusted. We should eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil because God didn't want us to know about it, because then we would become like him. So the implication was there that God could not be trusted and he didn't love us. You should eat this. And all of a sudden, binary thinking came into the earth. This is my belief system. This is what I have come up with. I've never heard anybody quite say it like this, but all of a sudden, black versus white, male versus female, no longer seen as one thing with two different balancing sides. It was seen as a binary thing, as an opposition, instead of a whole oneness. And the belief that God could not be trusted and he was our enemy changed everything. And this binary thinking weakened us, and we believed the lie. And that is the prison we have lived in all these years.
People still are believing it. I was just saying today, the controllers, the one thing they don't want us to have is unity, togetherness. When we finally figure it out and join hands with each other and push away their satanic agenda and their evil doing, and we trust in ourselves and we trust in the creator, and we, you know, our brothers and our sisters, that everything will change for sure. And that they definitely do not want that for us. And it saddens me. It does.
It what?
It saddens me.
Yes, yes. Well, it is a tragedy what has happened. And these enemies captured us through a lie. And what did Jesus come to do? He came to show us who we could be. He came to show us what we could do. And he came to show us that God was not like we have been told. He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. You've seen the Heavenly Father. And he loved people. He said to that woman caught in adultery in the act, strange the man wasn't there, but all these holy, better than thou people were there wanting to stone her to death because of her sin. And Jesus looked at him and said, he wrote in the sand, of course, famous story. A lot of people wonder what he wrote. Maybe he wrote their sins, the men that wanted to stone her. But he looked at me, he said, okay, the first one of you that has not sinned, throw the first stone. And they all turned and wandered away. And Jesus looked at this poor woman who's been through this horrible experience. He said, where are your accusers? She said, they're gone, Lord. And he said, I don't accuse you either. Go and don't sin anymore. And the idea is not it's because God's mad at you, it's because sin is contrary to what works. And you will get bad results from it. So avoid it. It goes against what works. So we are living in amazing times, and I believe the rescue mission is in high gear. And extraterrestrials and angelic beings and those out there who we might not think are so awesomely good are involved in our success because somehow they're looped into us. And Earth is like some sort of a model lead planet because we were made in the image of God. And this, according to what some people who say they have dealt with the galactic groups and everything, they say that the different races, extraterrestrials, and I know this may sound absolutely crazy to people, but I don't care. I'm just going to say it I'm open and thinking about a lot of things. They say that all these beings, including the reptilians, who most of them are bad, aggressive, angry beings, but all of them acknowledge Creator, and they acknowledge His Son, and they acknowledge that we, Earth, are significant somehow, and that thing in our DNA that we are not operating in as a rule, only a few of us punch through from time to time. The thing that is in us that makes us like the Creator is important that it's returned to us for their sake also, because somehow through the fractal nature of the universe, they are being held back because we are being held back. So it's all fascinating and exciting, and I think it's a blast. It's not easy, but it's so exciting. We're living in these days, the days that have been prophesied by all our treasured belief systems throughout the ages and all over the earth. All the different ones have told that these days were coming. And people said the end of the world is near forever, but doggone it, no one has ever seen anything like we're seeing now.
No.
There are things that have never happened before in written, recorded history. The whole world was never locked down together, the majority of the world, and we were never aware that everyone was locked down and that everyone was dealing with a pandemic. This type of thing has never occurred before. Being a global community was never possible before. And we've seen so much. And people are breaking out of the matrix, or breaking out of the thinking. Like we talked about before, people don't trust organizations any longer. And the bigger they are, the less trust them. I need a drink.
Big ones have a lot of room for corruption. And
They're just harvesting us like cattle. And when people start to realize and break free of that, I mean, your whole mind is free then, and you can live in peace. Although, knowing is a burden of sorts, but I think it's better to know what everything's been going on. I mean, definitely red pill yourself for sure. Well, I don't want to keep you guys any longer. It's been a absolutely fascinating, wonderful evening with you.
It has been. I love you all. I mean, the way we can talk and we trip off one another, and I talk too much tonight, but you all just make me want to talk.
Well, good.
We don't have to. On I've coughed now. I got it out of my system. Hopefully for a while. Why don't you all talk some more, and I'll try and listen and not get all in the middle of it.
Next time.
Okay.